Good evening. I'm Ken Laffler, and this is my series on historic sites of Southern California. Tonight, we'll be discussing the Kea Mill in Murrieta, or more precisely, downtown Murrieta. We'll be studying the history of the site and also the history of paranormal activity at the site. Most of it surrounds a girl in a blue dress. So, thank you for viewing, and have a good evening. Goodbye.
Okay, Ken Laffler here, and we're at the Kea Mill in Murrieta today, and I'm using my brand new Nikon. And here's the mill, and I've never gotten to take pictures with this camera of it, so I wanted to do a documentary on it. And here's the old loading platform. I've done quite a few videos and documentaries on this site, but I wanted to use my new camera to get some high-def pictures. And here's the mill. That's the access elevator. The stairs are no longer there. They burned in a fire several years ago. So the upper levels are no longer accessible. And here's the second loading dock. And it's a beautiful day here in downtown Murrieta. Historic downtown Murrieta. And I'm going to take a shot from over here on the loading platform. This right here, the smaller structure, would be the office building. And is no longer accessible either. It's been cemented. So it's difficult to get to the interior. Some of my older videos you can see the interior. And we're climbing up onto the loading dock. Slip there. And right across here, I'm going to zoom in on it, is the old school building. And that does have stories of paranormal activity. I got a little of the fence in it, unfortunately. There we are. And the story of, once again, as I've said in some of my other documentaries, surrounds a girl in a blue dress. And she supposedly haunts us. And supposedly the old school building too. There's a close-up. The school building burned down. And it was actually built in the 1880s originally. Burned down in the 1920s. It was rebuilt. Burned down in 1984. And they are supposedly going to turn this into a historic site, or a cultural, historical museum eventually. At least I'm hoping they do. And here's the surrounding areas. And here's the Kea Mill. And here's the sign, Kea Mill. The structure is 100 feet high, so it would be 10 stories. And the girl in the blue dress can supposedly be seen from the second window. Here, right there, you can see it. And I was here the other night and I heard some very strange sounds coming from there. It sounded like a crow, and crows, as you all know, do not fly at night. I found it very strange. I've also seen movement up there. And here's the mill. There's also an area over here where I believe they would park the train. The train tracks would run right here, down Clay Street, and supposedly they're still under there. A friend of mine who is a train enthusiast told me that they had been paved over. So I believe the old lines are still here, and then run all the way down to this area. And I have hiked back in there. I couldn't find them, but they are supposedly back there. The building is built of a honeycomb design, as you can see, which was used in mining and was used to shore up the mine shafts, which gave the structure a stronger construction. And as you can see, it is a honeycomb design. In my other documentaries, as I've said, the mill was scheduled for demolition. I believe in the 1990s, but the engineers said that the amount of dynamite needed would blow out the windows in a 2-mile radius. So obviously, this idea was discontinued. The mill was built on the Murrieta Creek, which is right next door. It is also an historic area. It has beavers and that type of wildlife and a lot of riparian life. So it's quite interesting just to see the creek. Here's the loading platform, and this is where I believe they would work on the trains, although I could be wrong. But here it is. I believe they would pull the train up here and would work on it from underneath. Although it could be for something else. I'm not sure. It goes down quite far, as you can see. And I'm going to try and step down here to get a better view of it. A person tried to scale the mill at one time and was on a drug called PCP, and apparently tried to scale it without a rope, and fell the 100 feet right to here, and was medevaced right here from this area by helicopter. This is where the helicopter landed, and I'm going to step down. I may slip again. Okay, that went pretty smooth. As you can see, it does go down a ways. Not that far, but here it is. These look like rail lines to me. However, I could be incorrect. And here's the back side of the mill. Once you use caution when viewing this site. There are areas where you can slip and fall. I'm getting barked at. Bark, bark, bark. Hey, you guys. How you doing? Here's the local indigenous animal population. And yeah, that's okay. You're just protecting your yard. Here's the mill. As you can see, it's quite high. It's over 100 feet. It looks like a large dam almost. There's a lot of nice light refraction in the picture. And I'll be doing still shots from the video. And I'm also going to do some stills too while I'm here. This is an old entryway door. This leads into the area inside, which is quite interesting. I don't believe you can access it anymore. And there's an old ramp here where they would load things. But it's pretty well sealed up now. It's almost impossible to get inside the interior. But in some of my older videos, if you go to Kenneth Lafler on YouTube, I do have detailed pictures of the interior, which has a lot of graffiti, which in and of itself is quite interesting, and some of it rather historic. But that's the old loading dock. And here's a good shot from the back side of the mill. It's actually a rather beautiful structure in its engineering design, and quite rare to see something like this. There's the top. And as I've said, the stories do surround a girl in a blue dress. Stories are that she jumped from the top. Others are that she was attacked here. There's a lot of conflicting stories, but over and over I have heard stories of a girl in a blue dress haunting the area. And as I say, I have seen motion in the second window, although I haven't actually seen her. But I know people who claim to have. I'm going to climb back up on the loading dock here. Here's an old nail. In fact, there's a few of them. And there we go. This, I don't know what was used for. It looks like some type of storage area. It's covered with a plank. Care should be used when exploring this area, because this does go down rather deep. I'll try and get it. I don't know if I have enough light, but this is the storage area. There we are. And it goes down quite a ways. I don't want to drop my camera into it, and it's actually a quite large area. Here's another entryway that's been sealed. And as I say, it's a rather beautiful day here in Murrieta. And I'm going to go back onto the old loading platform again. Here it is. And the train would pull up right here. And these are grain elevators. There's 3 of them. And there were, I guess you would call them, I don't know what you call them. They would go down to the train and load the train, which was coming usually from the Murrieta sand and gravel area, which is now the colony. And the sand and gravel would be taken to Los Angeles. by train. There's the mill. And so this is quite an interesting historic site, and definitely worth coming over to see. Trespassing is not allowed, so it's not recommended. However, I'm doing this film to preserve the site. And there's the overall grounds. The mill is located on Clay Street off of Kea Mill and is 2 blocks over. Take Kea Mill to Washington and then go 2 blocks over, and the mill can be viewed from there. Anyway, as I say, I do not want to linger and loiter, which I do not recommend. One should always observe the law, but in this case I feel I am preserving an historic site, which I doubt they can tear down. And that concludes our documentary. This will be on Kenneth Lafleur on YouTube, and I believe I have 6 documentaries on it, something like that. And here's the Kea milling sign. And as I say, it was, I believe, built in the 1920s, reached its peak of production in the 1950s, and closed in the 1990s. And that concludes our tour of the mill today. Thank you very much for viewing. As I say, you may view this on Kenneth Lafleur at youtube.com. Thank you, and thank you for viewing. Bye.
City at night.